I thought that my diet was perfect. And then I went to a standard medical doctor who told me I had prediabetes. And I was like, hey, something's wrong. I need to figure out what's going on. So then I don't have the headaches because it's not fun to live with headaches. In the last few years, I started incorporating small amounts of healthy processed foods or cooked foods. This morning I had buckwheat, quinoa, millet, and oatmeal. The thing I've noticed, Paul, is that when I started introducing a little bit of heat processed foods, like my energy at the end of the day is not quite, I'm not as energetic at the end of the day. For me, this has been my journey. And, one of the things that I try to do on my journey, Paul, is I've always tried to improve. And it was too difficult to keep up doing this high vegetable diet. I mean, that being said, you could also do a raw food diet and still do like sprouted grains and beans and get a good percentage of calories from grains and beans. But I didn't do that. So then I'm like, well, what's the other option? Well, the other option I said to myself was, hey, I'm going to start heat processing my food.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have this guest on. This is John Kohler. John, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
It's been a while since you've been here, and you're a good friend and also somebody who started eating a raw food diet around the time I did. And we're going to discuss about health and nutrition today. But before we do that, briefly introduce yourself to those people that don't know you.
Sure, yeah. So my name is John Kohler. I got into a raw vegan diet lifestyle in 1995 after having spinal meningitis and almost losing my life. And the doctors had no cure for me because it was a viral version. And I asked them why. They said you had complement immune deficiency, which they blamed basically me getting sick on a weak immune system. I then learned about juicing, colon cleansing, and then eating raw foods and how to turn my health around. And basically, I never looked back. I will say that, in the last few years, I started incorporating small amounts of healthy heat processed foods or cooked foods, whether it's steamed, boiled, or pressure cooked under 248 degrees, so I don't create the carcinogens that is normally associated with cooked foods that are heated in a dry heat.
Well, John, how did you learn about the raw food diet when you first heard of it?
That's a good question, Paul. So I first heard about it when I bought a Juice Man 2 juicer off of an infomercial on the cassette tape. Well, there's one time before that, actually. So I was going out with a girl, and we went to like her family's like Thanksgiving meal. And then when we went to Thanksgiving meal, it was like a potluck. So we all brought our stuff. And then there's like a certain section of the family, like I think it was like maybe 4 adults, only ate from their food. And actually, I sat next to one of the guys. His name was Samson, who I still know today. And actually, he was only eating raw food. I'm like, hey, why are you eating only your stuff? Why aren't you having the turkey? Because at that point, I wasn't eating like red meat and stuff. And he's like, well, we eat this stuff called raw food. And he tried to explain it to me. And like that kind of planted a seed. And I tried his stuff. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So, but then that was like the first time I heard about it. Then the second time was when I bought the Juice Man juicer off the infomercial. On the back of the first cassette, when you play it, the Juice Man, Jay Cordit, said, the one thing that prematurely ages you faster than anything else is cooked foods. Don't put cooked foods in your body. And when I heard that for the first time, I thought this guy was a madman. I thought he was crazy. Like, I didn't know anybody who ate raw foods, but except that family that I saw that one time. And I'm like, that's nuts. But then maybe a couple months later, I was actually in a health food store, and there was a book on the bottom shelf of the health food store called Cleanse and Purify Thyself by Dr. Richard Anderson, where he talks about, because you're eating cooked food on this toxic food, you're toxic, and that's where all your health problems start in your colon. He said you need to go on this colon cleanse, and then he said if you go on this colon cleanse and get clean or detoxed, you then need to eat raw foods for the rest of your life so that all your health problems don't come back. And then basically, long story short, I was juicing for about 6 months to kind of alkalinize my body. I went on the colon cleanse for the first time in my life. My skin, because I had a dry skin condition, eczema, from all as a childhood. The doctors gave me all these creams and things, and nothing ever helped until I went on this cleanse, and my skin cleared up 100% for the first time. And then I'm like, man, I need to eat this raw food diet for the rest of my life. And then, that's how it was.
And you went from there on to the next, 25 years, 99.9% raw?
Absolutely. Well, I think one time, I think you remember my girlfriend Amy back in the day.
Yeah.
But because you were going out with Amy also, or we both had our Amy's. But actually, after we broke up with Amy because she cheated on me, she actually slept with my best friend, all kinds of stupid stuff. I did emotionally eat. I did have some baked potatoes and some a McDougal vegan burrito. But other than that, yes, I have been 99.9% raw.
Okay. So, what is from all the different types of raw food diets out there? Did you switch over the years the different types of raw you did, or was it like were you fruitarian the whole time? Were you Hippocrates? Were you like what primarily did you do, and did you switch off, or were you consistent at doing one way?
So it's pretty consistent, Paul, over the years. So I mean, I originally learned about like the Brian Clement, Hippocrates, the Gabriel Cousens style, and the Ann Wigmore style. I mean, those were the predominant books that I first learned about. And of course, I went to SF Life, which is the Living and Raw Food Support Group of San Francisco. So I'd go there every month, and pretty much everybody there was more on a green diet. We all ate fruits, but it wasn't like a natural hygiene. Maybe, a few years later, after I got into it, then I met David Klein, of course, which I know is also, one of your friends and maybe even mentors, about raw foods. And then he introduced me into natural hygiene. So I always started out with, basically more of a green diet, whole foods. Back then I did use some olive oil. And then I also ate fruit too. I mean, of course, back in the olden days too, just, if it was raw, it was healthy. So like I didn't have the differentiation. So like a lot of my dinners, I would basically get date paste and slather on nut butter and be like, I'm raw vegan. But that ain't healthy.
And did you do that like for all the 25 years pretty much? Or that was at the
No,
beginning?
come
That
on.
was at the
Just
beginning.
the first couple of years, when I went out to stick to it and it's like new to you, right? Maybe I'm under eating calories. So then I basically get extra calories by eating some, dates and nut butter.
Now,
The first, I don't know,
since
few years.
since you and I are friends and we've traveled and been to same festivals and so on and events,
Yep.
I kind of know this answer, but for me, one of the things I focus on so much is the importance of sleep. And I think, and I believe your idea of sleep had always been I stay up as late as I want and I get up without an alarm whenever my body naturally wakes up. For the most part, has that been your sleep philosophy in terms of, uh, in general? Has that been your plan for the most part over the years?
Well, so definitely when I was younger, I would say yes. And, I will also say that that was not the best plan now, looking back on it. As a raw vegan and as many people, I would have a lot of energy. And I basically just go, 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 go until my body told me it was tired. And then I would go to bed and then I'd kind of like, go to bed a little bit too late, midnight, one. I don't know, sometimes be rare. Back in the day, I'd go to bed around 11, but somewhere between 11 and 1, then I'd go to bed and then sleep in and maybe get up a little bit later in the day. And and then also too, I mean, one of the things we also learned, I don't know, you could correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but one of the things I also learned in the early years was that raw vegans need less sleep because we're immune to normal psychological stuff because we have so much energy, we're eating the best, cleanest diet, so we need less sleep. So I kind of got sucked into that. And yes, I will say that I would stay up rather late and then wake up, um, later in the day. And the other thing that I did that was really not good was, I also would eat late because I'm busy working all day. I'd finally eat late. I mean, I know you have the daylight diet and I was aware about that, but I think you would say and joke with me many times that I'm on the midnight diet. And,
Sure.
I mean, I definitely ate later than I should have been all these years. And I will say that, we need to eat earlier in the day and go to sleep earlier. And what I would say is that, we need to make sleep a priority. We all have a job. We all wake up with an alarm clock. And actually, I still wake up without an alarm clock. But what I would tell people is that you should go to bed with an alarm clock instead of wake
Exactly.
up with an alarm clock. It's more
Exactly.
important.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people is set an alarm to know when you should be going to sleep because it's
Yeah.
should be a high priority. So when you are sleeping like that, on average, since you woke up without an alarm, how many hours did you normally find yourself getting? Was it consistent or did it change often?
It was pretty consistent. I mean, it's tough to say looking back because I didn't like gauge my hours of sleep, 10 years ago or whatever. I would just go to bed when I'm tired, wake up whenever my body's waking me up. So
Was it 4 hours later or 8 hours later? What kind of window was it like?
definitely, well, it wasn't like 4 hours. That's like not enough. I mean, I would say it'd be in the range. let- Let's see here. Let me count them off here. Yeah, I mean, it'd be about 6 to 8, depending on the day.
Okay.
So I
Now
mean, I
there's so
got good sleep once I was asleep, but I just was going to bed too late.
sure. And there's so many uh other things that affect our health other than the food we're eating. And
Yeah.
for me, as you know me, sleeping and exercising, I'm like an exercising maniac. But those have always been two of my things. But there's so many other things that can affect our health. And one of the things we both do and have done over the years is we travel a lot. And do you think traveling is good for health or bad for health, or you think it can be done healthfully?
Of course, I think traveling and going into different time zone messes up your internal clock. So I think that it is not the best thing to do. I mean, maybe you're traveling and staying within the time zone, it's probably not the worst thing to do. But traveling different time zones is shifting your body's clock and messing with with how your body works and how it's used to working. And it's definitely not the best. So I could agree with that.
So okay, and so then also, what about exercise? How's your exercise program been over the years?
It's changed. So in the early years, like when I was living in California, like I would basically like every Thursday I'd go like I'd go inline skating at the roller rink like religiously, and I'd roller skate a lot, right? And then when I moved to Vegas, some of that got dropped off because I mean basically Vegas is really hot. I mean here I tend to do more hiking, which I go out several times a week to go hiking, especially when I have my dog. We would go I'd hiking together in the national park, which is maybe like I don't know 10-15 minutes from my house. And then just recently, I just got back into rollerblading or actually inline skating at the indoor rink here in Vegas. But then I also found an outdoor rink, like an uh, inline roller skating rink at the local park that's like 5 minutes away. So I've really been enjoying there and just doing laps because that really gets a lot of your different body parts moving. Otherwise, I just get standard, exercise. I lift heavy things, carry heavy things, all in the scope of gardening and movement. So yeah, I mean, I suppose if there's anything that could be potentially the weak link in my lifestyle, could be I could get out and exercise more. Yeah,
And with the different types of exercising between stretching and cardiovascular and muscle building, I know we lift heavy things, we lift boxes and we lift a lot of things, but have you ever been the type of person to go to the gym or do calisthenics with your body weight or lift weights?
so I like to do exercises that encourages me to move my body. So for example, I'd rather go like rock climbing up at the national park when I go hiking to like physically lift my body, than to just go and breathe recycled air at a gym, and
Well,
then
even like
do movements that are just repetitious movements versus like actual moving how I would want to move my body in nature.
sure, but even rock climbing, for example, like doing pull-ups on a chin-up bar, prepare you to be a better rock climber and things like
Of
this.
course.
Just
Yeah, I
in
have a chin up
general.
bar. I do it every day? No. I mean, do I do it sometimes? Yes.
Okay.
I'm sure you're more structured in your exercise regime than I am, Paul.
In no way am I comparing myself to you. I just want to know, and we're getting to where you're at now, and I want people to watch the interview and figure out like why you came to the conclusions you did. I'm not trying to compare us at all.
Sure.
So that's your exercise. Now, over the years, did you always test your blood or to see where you were at, or is it something that you tried once every 10 years and lately you did more or less, or did you never test your blood to see how you were doing?
No, generally before COVID, I would check my blood every single year. Absolutely. Then
And what
COVID kind of messed things up for a couple years.
Okay. Had you went back to it?
Yeah, well, yes, of course.
Okay. And how was your blood work over the years? 25 years on a mostly raw food diet or 99.9% on a raw food diet. How was your blood work?
I mean, overall, it's been pretty good. I mean, there's always been a few things because I was like not a good compliant, not a good compliance with supplements. Like I don't really like to take supplements, but I have taken them in the past. So generally, my B12 has been like right in the low normal range or a little bit below normal, and then basically my B12 has always been in the right in the once again same thing like low normal or a little bit below normal, and then my methylmalonic acid and homocysteine have been maybe right where they need to be, or maybe a little bit out of range a little bit, but it's not like super terrible or super bad. So I've kind of gotten into more into supplementation lately to make sure they stay where they need to be.
Okay, so besides, I was going to ask you about supplements over the years. What have you done over the years, and what are you doing now?
I mean, there's a bunch of supplements I take. So, I mean, I take B12, I take a D. I mean, aside from also getting out in the sun, I take some enzymes, I take some probiotics, take some magnesium. Let's see what else I take. I mean, those are the main ones I take, with a few other ones. So,
Is that over the years, has it been consistent of taking those things, or did it change?
no, it's just within the last few years I started really kind of taking more supplements because most of my raw foods career I took like maybe vitamin mineral green, and then I didn't really take any supplements.
Okay, and in your diet over the years, did you ever count calories and proteins and fats or anything like that?
I mean, on random occasions, but on my daily day to day basis, I don't really count all those things. It just I don't think I really need to do it. Also, it's just like headaches. I don't want to like live my life on a computer typing in everything I eat.
So what do you base if I tell everybody do what's working for you? That's what I tell everyone. No matter what anyone says to me, I said if it's working for you, great. But if it's not, you obviously need to change something. So what do you determine that your diet and your lifestyle is working for you? Is it how you feel or is it blood tests? Like what determines for John, like, okay, it's working for me?
Well, I mean, my feeling has not really changed. I've always felt really good, right? When I saw so my body will give me indicators, So like if I punch myself like really hard and then it hurts, like okay, if you punch yourself and it hurts, why does it hurt? Well, because I just punched myself. I did some physical action. If I'm not hurting, then I'm like pretty good. So like one of the indicators that caused me to change recently was actually I was getting headaches, and then that headache was an indicator that something not right. I was not punching my head to get headaches. I did not have a concussion. I mean, so then I was like, hey, something's wrong. I need to figure out what's going on. So then I don't have the headaches because it's not fun to live with headaches. I mean, that's one indicator. Like, if I have any pain, normally for my whole adult life, I hadn't had any pain with anything. Another one is blood tests. I want my blood tests to be in line, in range where they need to be. And if they're not in range, I need to adjust what I'm doing so that I could get them in range. Another thing very important that many people do not take into consideration is my microbiome test. I was not familiar with microbiome. When we started Raw Foods, Paul, it wasn't really even invented yet or discovered. And so I got a microbiome test. And to me, I do put some weight on it. It's not like the entire weight on everything, but I believe it to be very important for my future and somewhat current health, and my microbiome test was not where I wanted it to be. So yeah, I mean, I think those are the main things. How I'm feeling. Yeah. Also, too. I mean, like, also for me, very important. Like, I like to use my brain a lot, and also have good fast reaction times. So I haven't noticed like I think I've been getting actually sharper, and my reaction times have increased in the recent years. But maybe I'm just thinking that's true, but I don't know.
Okay, so with the adjustments you need to make, and like I say, there are different ways to eat a raw food diet, so to say, or eat particular ways. So you're getting headaches, and you're not happy with your biomicron test. Where'd you look to make adjustments to try to deal with those? What did you do?
I mean, so first was like, okay, like my diet's perfect. I thought that my diet was perfect, and with my headaches, so I'm like, hey, this is an external issue. This must be a muscular skeletal issue or something. So I went to acupuncturist, chiropractor, what is it, naturopathic doctor. I went to what is it, the osteopathic doctor. None of those helped, and then I went to a standard medical doctor who told me I had prediabetes, which I found very hard to believe and would not accept it when he told me that, because obviously we know personally so many people that go on to a raw vegan diet and heal themselves from diabetes. And here I am somehow it caused diabetes, or I was not diabetes, but I was pre-diabetic. And when I get my blood test, sure enough, I'm like 1 point in the pre-diabetes stage. Like if the range is like whatever 22 is normal, I was like 23. So it wasn't like it was bad, but that's what he said. So I took this into consideration because after all the other alternative doctors couldn't help me, I'm like, okay, well, maybe that is true. So if it is true, then maybe what do I have to do? And then, of course, then looking back at my microbiome test, where the test result didn't end up at, because I was like, if I'm raw vegan, my microbiome test should be like near 100, and it was like in the 60s. I'm like, what's going on? And this also could have been because of pre-existing conditions, because I was not breastfed as a child. Maybe I didn't have the right microbes in my gut. Maybe my diet didn't feed the right microbes so that I could have the proper microbes and the proper ratios in my gut. And I'm like, we got to try something different. So then for a little bit, I tried like high vegetable raw vegan diet, which is extremely difficult because people believe you can only get your calories from fruits or fats. Yeah, I mean, you can get them from vegetables, but it's extremely hard. So I was juicing like copious amounts of root vegetables and other vegetables to get those in me, reduce my amount of fruit, and all my fat has pretty much always stayed consistent, like a handful of two or nuts a day, which is like, if I eat that much, it should be in the range that I believe to be healthy. I mean, there was few days over my raw food career where I did no overts, but I've never been somebody to eat like no overt fats. So then I did that for a while. I mean, and it was too difficult to keep up doing this high vegetable diet. I mean, that being said, you could also do you could do a raw food diet and still do like sprouted grains and beans and get a good percentage of calories from grains and beans. But I didn't do that. So then I'm like, well, what's the other option? Well, the other option I said to myself was, hey, I'm going to start heat processing my food. So this way I could kind of get more vegetables in me, and also more vegetables that like won't have such a high of a sugar hit as like fruit would. So like purple potatoes, purple sweet potatoes are a lot less sweet than the standard rust potatoes, and orange sweet potatoes that tend to be a lot sweeter when you cook them. Plus, in general, I tend to cool them and then eat them, so then it makes more resistant starch. So then the sugar doesn't have a hit on you. I also, of course, started incorporating cooked beans in the instant pot, which also, of course, are more complex carbohydrates that are broken down more slowly. As well as like this morning, I had buckwheat, quinoa, millet, and oatmeal. You know, so this allowed me to reduce my amount of fruit that I was consuming, increase other healthy plant foods, and then my headaches went away.
So your headaches went away. So how often were you getting headaches and like that it became a concern? Was it every day, like 5 headaches or one headache a week?
It was almost a constant headache most days. It was, I mean, and also to remind you, Paul, like my main health condition. I mean, I know your health condition, but like my main health condition was spinal meningitis, which started out as headache and
Sure.
stuff. So like that really concerned me, and just having a headache every day was really concerning because I was like, what if this is coming back? And the other thing that you may notice, I don't really tell people this, but you'll notice like for most of my raw food and adult life, I've never worn hats. I've always thought hats were stupid, they were dumb. But I mean, the thing is, like, when I was having headaches, that headache would be there. Obviously, I know I'm not taking aspirin, Tylenol, or anything to mask the headaches. But then I'm like, it would really bother me because it would make me think, oh, am I going to get sick again and almost lose my life? So then I started wearing hats because with the hat, it puts some pressure on your head so that now instead of feeling the headache, I'd feel the pressure of the hat. And that would kind of like make the headache, like to me, like I wouldn't feel it. And then I wouldn't get, like, my body wouldn't go in this threat reaction mode thing that was
Yeah.
happening. And then even though my headaches are gone, I still wear hats just for, well, sun protection. And also maybe it's like the comfort of that, but whatever.
Sure. And how often were you throughout your raw journey? Did you drink a lot of water or water, or some raw fooders don't drink any water? How was your water consumption?
So it's always varied over the years. I've always had filtered water available at my tap, like reverse osmosis in all the houses I've lived in. And actually, right now I am thirsty, so I should be drinking some water. So, yeah, I mean, I try to get most of my hydration from green juices or vegetable juices. And so I drank 1 quart today. I was going to drink another second quart today. And then I had like about a half a liter of water today so far.
Okay. And what about your bowel movements? Did you go to the bathroom consistently every day throughout the years, or was there
Yeah,
times
I've
where you
gone
were
to the
not?
bathroom several times a day consistently throughout the years, never constipated.
Okay. Okay. And so now you said you reintroduced uh, some foods that are not raw into your diet, and the headaches went away.
Right.
And what about your microbiome test? Did that improve?
So I've been doing microbiome tests maybe like once a year to see, and slowly but surely it's been getting a little bit better.
Okay. Okay. And what about your energy
Slowly.
levels since you reintroduced the foods? What about your energy level?
So it's pretty much the same. I will say maybe it dipped a little bit because the thing I've noticed, Paul, is that when I started introducing a little bit of heat processed foods, like my energy at the end of the day is not quite. I'm not as energetic at the end of the day. During the day, I'm fine, but like to me, I think that's a good thing because the problem I had when I was younger is that I have so much energy, I'd stay up too late and then go to bed. But now that I'm eating some heat processed foods, I tend to get running out of energy a little bit early in the day and just want to relax and go to bed earlier. Actually, so these days I basically like last night I went to bed at 10. So like that's really like I should have probably been going to bed like by 10 all these years.
Has your weight changed since you added these foods to your diet?
So it's been pretty much consistent. I will say, like, I mean, I think one of the things that may have caused this issue, Paul, is like during the pandemic, it was stressful times. Grocery stores are out of food. Of course, I had still all the food growing in my garden, but like one of the things that happened due to the psychological and like social isolation is I started like eating like more freeze dried fruit, which I don't think was really good, which may have been part of the challenge that caused this because now I'm eating basically food with all the water removed. I mean, I still was drinking water to compensate that, but I definitely had a overabundance of you know freeze dried fruit, which is very high in sugar. So I don't know if that could have sparked it, but I'm going to tell everybody out there we want to eat whole, fresh, ripe, raw, homegrown fruits and vegetables, and not and minimally process it, including freeze dried fruit food is great as a snack, especially if it's fruit. I mean, freeze dried vegetables are definitely better, but I would definitely caution people about eating too much freeze dried fruit. Normally, people won't do that because it's quite expensive to buy. But if you have a freeze dryer and you have a closet full of freeze dried fruit and you're going to go through some emotional eating, I mean, that's what I did. I'm not perfect.
How tall are you and how much do you weigh now currently?
So I haven't really weighed myself lately, but I'm about 5'10". I'm about 150 to 153, usually 155, somewhere about between there. And I
Okay.
did gain weight. If you looked at some of my older videos, actually during the pandemic, my face was more pudged out, and people may blame that on cooked food. I blame that on actually eating too many calories of freeze dried fruit, but
So how many times do you typically eat a day, and has that changed since you added these different foods?
not really changed. I still eat about 3 times a day, basically, not including juice.
Okay, so what percentage of your diet now is not raw?
Depends on the day, man. Like I was at the raw vegan wellness retreat during the whole event. I ate all raw.
On average, not when you're traveling, but at home.
I mean, 10 to 20% is what I'd say. I mean, so
Okay.
for example, like what I've been eating lately, Paul, is you can see my garden behind me. Yesterday, I picked a bunch of tomatoes. I lined the bottom of my blender with tomatoes. I go around and then pick all the leaves. So these are like Bailey leaves, which I want you to grow personally. Down below, if you guys can see all these greens here, this is wild arugula. I have like water spinach against that wall. I have basil flowers topping. I have sweet potato greens. I have longevity greens. I have Malabar spinach greens. So basically, I pick a bunch of greens and put that on top of the tomatoes. I put like, you know, put some let's see, some vinegar, put some nuts in there and some herbs and spices and blend it up. And then normally I would take that and then pour that over like a box of like cooked beans and then cooked mushrooms. Last night I omitted those because I didn't want to eat any cooked stuff. I don't have them. Well, I don't have the mushrooms pre-prepared, and I didn't want the beans because I wasn't that hungry and I didn't want extra calories. I just wanted to do the greens. And then after that, then I had like one artichoke and one purple sweet potato that were cooked. So it's like
Um,
a raw slash cooked dinner. And
well,
then in the daytime, I think yesterday I basically I drank all juices, had like 2.5 green juices or 1.5 green juices, and then fruit during the day. So I mean,
so
my cooked part yesterday was like one artichoke, which is very low calories, and a purple sweet potato.
now consuming an animal product would definitely take care of some of the myths that we can't get certain nutrients on our vegan diet. For example, sardines would definitely give us some nutrients that would help us not to need to supplement, possibly, or some people say raw milk might help. What is your reason for being and staying vegan? Is it all nutritional, or does some of it have to do compassionate wise? What's your reasoning?
Sure, Paul. So my reasoning for staying plant-based or vegan is because I don't want other animals to suffer for me to live, you know. Number one, and number two, like I believe animal meat is unclean, like literally, and has a lot of, animal toxins in there and are not going to be good for long-term health
So,
and can increase colon cancer and other cancers and other diseases.
okay. So How far do you take that not wanting animals to die vegan message? Because vegan doesn't mean diet alone, it's lifestyle. How deep are you into a vegan lifestyle beyond food?
So I mean, like my shoes are vegan. They're plastic, basically Crocs. I do the best I can, Paul. Like I don't. I'm not like I don't have a leather couch. I mean, I bought a used car. It did come with leather seats, but I didn't have an option because it was like the cheapest car that I needed to buy. I mean, that's one of my cars. Two of my cars don't have any leather seats. It's not like I don't go out of my way to buy a car with leather seats. It was a used car that I didn't really have a choice because it was like the price I could afford. For example, I drove like 2 hours the other night to get to the hotel room too late at midnight. And then like I opened my bag because I was filming on the beach and there was like a bug that was in my bag. And then I'm like, oh, there's a bug in my bag. Am I gonna let it go in the room? Am I gonna flush it down the toilet? I was so tired, I should have been to bed. I took it all the way down 5 flights of stairs, let it outside, and then came back up to my room. Not to say that that's vegan or not, but like it's very important to me to like, honor other earthlings on the planet. Whether it's the bugs in my yard or whether it's full size animals. Like I want to really kind of leave the lightest footprint on the planet. It's very important to me for my lifestyle and so that I can live with myself.
Speaking of your lifestyle, living with yourself, do you have a family that you live with, or what's your living situation?
So I'm a single guy, Paul. Unfortunately, my goal is to find a partner and have kids, hopefully very soon.
Okay.
And I'm sure my lifestyle will change then because then it won't be about all me. Then it's about my partner and hopefully our kids. And then I'm gonna have to talk, of course, to my partner about how things are gonna go.
So, how would you feel, since you're compassionate about eating animals, if you got involved or married to somebody who was a vegan, and then they decided to incorporate some animal products in their diet afterwards? I mean, is that a situational thing that you'd have to know then and see how you would react, or do you have you thought about something like that?
No, I've thought about that because even though I eat plant based and vegan, live that lifestyle, like I would date somebody that wasn't into that because I think my dating pool is already small enough. And so the thing that's most important to me is that they're into their health and that their health is their greatest wealth. Because if their health is their wealth and then they're actually halfway intelligent, like I like to think I go out with intelligent people that can think and not just follow influencers that spat off things that aren't true or dogma, then they would kind of look at the science and basically the science would back up my point of view, which is basically we kind of need to eat 90 to 95% of our food, whole food plant based. If you want to eat that, hopefully 5% ideally, but definitely less than 10% of animal products, and they're that could be healthy. And the other thing I would say is that if she did want to eat meat, then I would not accept her eating factory farm meat or even grass fed meat. Well, we would raise the meat and I wouldn't kill it because it would be my pet. And then she would need to butcher it or do whatever so that she could eat it if she felt so strongly that she needed to do that because it's very important for me and my family that we are connected with nature and we don't just like buy pre-made meat where the slaughter and all that is behind closed doors. You don't see what happens.
So okay, so pretty much you have an open mind, but you want the healthiest option and the most compassionate option as your number one choice, uh, to you under your control, right?
That'd be fair to say, yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay. Well, all right. Well, we're covering a lot of stuff here. What's your message to people that are, let's say, on a raw food diet for like 10 years or so, or 5 years, or they're thinking about just this diet, just getting into it as a new person eating a raw food diet? What would be your message to them?
So I mean, so like for me, this has been my journey, and one of the things that I try to do on my journey, Paul, is I've always tried to improve, wherever we're at. I mean, I know many years ago you had your houses and you didn't really grow any food. And one of the things I'm glad I got to impart on you was to grow your own food. And you really saw how that made a huge difference, in your health, in your life, in your money savings and the different varieties that you could grow. So I mean, I think, that's an easy step that a lot of people could take by simply growing their own food like both you and I do. And unfortunately, most other people in the raw food movement, it seems like we're the exception, unfortunately, instead of the rule. And I believe this should be the rule because growing your own food is the best way to live a raw vegan lifestyle. I mean, I go out to my backyard and basically, I mean, I just have all the greens I could ever eat. I mean, I know Paul has all the fruit he could ever eat, but I have fruit trees too. I have all these figs right now, and the birds have been eating a lot of them since I was away. I have some kumquat trees on this property. I also have, persimmons and a lot of figs on my property in California, where I grow loquats. And my property in Puerto Rico, I have mangoes, avocados, Americana, mamey, um, lots of bananas. So, I think it's very important to think about your footprint, and especially when you are buying imported bananas and you live in northern, the North America, they're getting imported from faraway lands on monoculture farms. That monoculture farms in the industrial agriculture system, they don't care about your health, right? They don't care about the nutrient quality. They care about the profit. So, whether you want to improve your diet by eating a higher quality food, which you could all do, even if you just grow sprouts or microgreens inside your apartment, you could do that. If you're just buying food at the grocery store now, then go to your local farmers market and ask the farmers, hey, when did you pick this? And try to find and support the farmers that picked it like that morning, right? Or the day before, that are not selling, that are buying stuff from the wholesale produce room and then reselling it. And they're just selling old stuff that you could have just got at the supermarket anyways, right? So that's one easy way I think everybody should take more responsibility for the food they eat and become a producer instead of a consumer. The second way I will say is that I'm really into is I want you to think about the ways you process your food so you can retain the most nutrition, right? If you're a raw vegan, I mean, one of the best ways to process your food is just by your teeth. Just chew your food up in a mush. And then swallow it, right? Eat your raw food, chew it up, process it with your teeth. You're gonna have some of the best nutrition, right? Anytime you use any kind of processing technique, any processing machine, a Vitamix, a slow juicer, a high-speed juicer, a pressure cooker, you're going to lose some of the nutrition. And based on the different appliance you choose, or dehydrator, based on the appliance you choose, you're going to lose more or less of certain nutrients. So I always encourage you guys to choose a better processing tool to keep those nutrient levels high. So for example, instead of a high-speed juicer that loses more nutrients, use a slow juicer that loses less. Instead of using a high-speed blender like a Vitamix, use a vacuum blender that now you keep the oxygen-sensitive nutrients because you're not oxidizing them. Instead of using a dehydrator, use a freeze dryer that basically removes the water while it's frozen without the oxygen to maintain more nutrition. Right? These are all really simple things that people could do to up, even if you're eating conventional food, it's going to up the amount of nutrients you're getting when you are putting it into some kind of equipment. And if you are still cooking your food, then I only recommend you guys use the best way to heat process your food, which is boiling, steaming, or pressure cooking to keep the temperature low so you don't create toxins, and also you maintain more of the nutrients in the food so that your body could benefit.
All right, John. So, what are you working on? Any future projects that can help people? Any coaching? Do you do coaching? Do you have any books? What are you working on to help people?
Yeah, sure, Paul. So yeah, I mean, only thing I do is I pretty much put out weekly episodes or videos on my YouTube channel. Is OK Raw for the raw food, plant-based diet, lifestyle, share my thoughts, my teachings. Put out one video a week on gardening and growing food, on growing your greens, and I put out one video a week on the equipment at Discount Juicers. Those are all on YouTube, free for you guys. I don't do any coaching myself. I don't want to be involved with that. I have good friends, that do that, but I want to just really just connect with nature, work in nature, trying to find a partner in life. I think probably the biggest, I'm not working on any books, but my main project that I'm working on these days is I'm trying to get my 3-acre farm in Puerto Rico. And my good friend Kailash, is owns 5 acres next to me. So we have a total of 8 acres. So our goal is to get a retreat center up and running. So we actually bring people to experience homegrown, locally grown food in Puerto Rico. Kailash, of course, teaches yoga and meditation. We both teach raw living foods, diet and lifestyle. We're going to have all kinds of amazing fruits and also, of course, lots of tropical vegetables, and basically bring people for a full experience. So that's really the main thing I'm working on right now, is getting that established, getting all the food growing. Just got the building permits issued, so now I could hire a contractor and get my house structure finished, and then hopefully we could start, doing retreats there.
Is your goal to live there full time one day?
So it's a potential that I could end up living there one day. It's not a bad place. Yeah, that could happen. It depends on my partner and where we decide to live. I do like Puerto Rico, and if I'm growing all my own food I need there, it's going to be a lot easier to live. But I do like to travel a lot because, as much as I like staying in one location, the other thing I really enjoy is going to different locations because every different place you visit, there'll be different fruits and vegetables growing. So you can diversify your diet and get different, fruits and vegetables like the freshest as can be. So I really appreciate traveling between my properties so I could basically have the best of all worlds. Because I know down there, you can have the world's best mangoes down there, Paul. But y'all probably don't get really good stone fruits like I get here. I eat like locally grown white nectarines and peaches and plums and apricots and cherries, all locally grown. Whereas in the tropics, those things aren't really easily found. So yeah, I think there's definitely benefits of living in different places and traveling a little bit, or even just getting food that's shipped to you. It could be really great.
Sure. And so hurricane. There's a hurricane coming towards Puerto Rico right now as we speak.
Yeah, I heard about that. Luckily my house is not finished yet, so it's withstood several hurricanes already. So my house will still be there, and it's always fun time when I show up 6 months later because every trip I plant more plants and fruit trees and edible crops to see what's still standing. And if there's a hurricane pulls up stuff, then I just have a new opportunity to plant more new.
I have a question for you before we close. I know you know a lot about this, and so do I, but I want to know your opinion. I love persimmons, and we can't really grow many of them locally here, even though I have two trees and actually loaded right now, tropical persimmons. But I know I met a grower in Georgia, and I've been to his farm. He's not organic. And I know certain things like oranges or avocados, if you don't get them organic, they're not as bad as things that you directly eat the skin to. And I know you can cut open a persimmon and spoon it out if it's soft enough, but these are fuyu persimmons. What do you think about non-organic fuyu persimmons?
So, especially if you know the grower, I think it's very important to know the process. That's the most important. It's not just that it's organic or not or whatever. I mean, I was recently in Gaylord, Michigan, and actually on the first day of the raw food event, I was at the vegan wellness retreat. I visited a blueberry farm like in the city. They were open on the day of the morning, and I said, "Hey, anybody want to go to the blueberry farm with me?" And two people from the retreat went to me and met me there, and then they get to saw how I act when I go to a farm. I basically first talk to the owner, talk to the farmer, how he grows his stuff. I say, "Hey, what kind of pesticides do you use?" He's like, "Basically, we haven't sprayed in 3 years. We have Japanese beetles, but we haven't sprayed anything in 3 years. When we do spray, we try to spray organic stuff." And then I said, "Well, hey, what do you use for fertilizer?" He's like, "Well, hey, we use conventional fertilizer." I'm like, "Okay, that's not my favorite, but that's acceptable. The more important thing is that he's not spraying, pesticides for the pests." And then I'm like, "Well, how do you control the weeds?" And he's like, "Well, we don't spray Roundup because we basically plant grass and that suppresses the weeds. We do some hand pulling of weeds." And then I'm like, and then he also mulches. So he mulches down below the blueberry so he doesn't have to spray pesticides, right? So, I mean, we got the herbicides covered, we got the pesticides covered, and the only thing that I was not in alignment with was the fertilizer, which is basically synthetic fertilizer. That's not the worst thing in the world. And as you know, Paul, I teach good, better, best. So I'd surely eat, persimmons from a non-certified organic grower that didn't spray, didn't use Roundup on the soil, and use like even non-organic fertilizer. I could be all right with that because if that's the best I could do, and that's the best I could get, actually that ain't too bad. But
Okay,
of course, the best is grow your own.
of course. Well, thank you, John, for this interview. Thank you so much. I'm going to put your links below where people can contact you, but what's the best way they can contact you?
Well, if they want to contact me, I don't really have. It's not easy to contact me, but I'll give you everybody the secret. Is the best way is to go on my Instagram and then follow me at Growing Your Greens, and then DM me. I will sometimes respond to the DMs there. I can't respond to everybody because somebody has so many questions, and my goal is to actually not live an online presence. Although I do make videos, most of the time I'm just in my garden, going skating, prepping my food, or just doing other things like taking care of my father, who currently has Alzheimer's and is in a memory care place right now. So my mom needs me a lot to help him out to take care of him, during this last time of his life.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that, man. I know that's really tough. Uh,
Yeah.
so uh, let me rephrase the question. You're single. If there's a woman out there watching that wants to get in touch with you because she's interested in you, what's the best way for her to get in touch with you?
Yeah. DM me on Instagram, and I'm likely to answer.
Okay, send a picture, right?
Well, it's going to be on your Instagram profile, and hopefully, you have a lot of pictures on there. So
There you go. There you go. Not that the picture is the only thing that's important, folks, because
exactly.
there's a lot more to it than that. but it does help. So, John, thank you so much for joining us here today, and keep up the great work. And thank you for being open-minded to make changes or be willing to experiment with new things and not stick to something when you see it might not be working for you. So, thanks for being on the show.
All right. Thank you, Paul, so much.
All right.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show.